Hey, man.
What's up, sir?
Hello. It's been a busy day in Tsunami Digital Mediaville today. I cranked my neck earlier at the hardware store. As you get older, for all you youngins out there, recovery takes longer. That's for sure. What'd you say? Advil.
Aspirin.
Aspirin is just part of your diet.
Here's an oxymoron. Do you remember Ginko Biloba?
I do. Have you or any of your loved ones been affected by Ginko Biloba? Did any of your family members take Ginko Biloba between 1999 and 2004?
And would they remember? Just remember that's what it was for?
Ginko Biloba.
For your memory?
Yeah. Do you find yourself as sharp in your old age?
Sharper.
Not that we're that old.
Sharper.
Sharper? Yeah.
Sharp.
Sharpen the saw. Always sharpening the saw. Always.
Sharper. More irritable. less pleasant.
Yeah, man. Oh, dude. So, how was your week, sir? Lots happened, I feel like. There's in the world. There's some things happening around us. Talk to me, buddy. How you feeling? You know?
Tired.
Yeah.
I'm tired.
I'm tired too. Damn it.
I'm tired of everything.
I'm tired. Tired of this.
Ain't it? That's just, you know what? Things have calmed down. You know, it's funny like this. After the whole hijinks of the election and the frustration and stuff like that, that's lingering out there a little bit. But things are starting to calm down, and we're getting back to like the business of getting the business. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
So there was a moment where everything was kind of dominated by election stuff, and now you're starting to see like some of the fun stuff creep back up. Like I saw. Did you see the reveal of Jared Leto's Joker?
I did see this. I saw this.
Did you see the actual picture of him like sitting down, looking down in full makeup and
I don't know if I saw that one. I saw there was like a blurry version. And
so they finally released a full quality one. They stopped teasing and they just showed him.
Good.
I think he looks cool.
He looked cool, yeah.
I think he looks cool.
I heard they got rid of his tattoos.
Got rid of the tattoos, got rid of the silver caps.
God, he looked dorky, didn't he?
They really went for they're trying to correct it. They're listening to the feedback because they made it look like a darker version, a more gritty version of Heath Ledger's. It's the long hairs back.
I saw the Joaquin Phoenix. Everybody's like, it's heading more towards the Joaquin Phoenix Joker. That's what I read.
Yeah, maybe. But he looks like they got the same facial structure, kind of like the slim type of fit guy. Joaquin Phoenix look old.
Yeah.
And Joaquin Phoenix doesn't really look like the Joker. Like, if that makes sense. Like, these guys kind of look like the comic book Joker.
Sure.
Joaquin Phoenix looked like a regular person you'd see on the street with clown paint on.
In the 70s, yeah.
His acting was phenomenal, and it was cool to see the
Dude, we saw that movie together. We saw it together.
California.
In
First
California.
time I ever went to California.
Yeah, man. That was a fun trip.
Wild.
That was a fun trip.
I still think Germany's the number one destination of the places I've been to that I want to take my family. California's nice, but if I had to pick one or the other, it's Germany first.
Oh, yeah, you know. I'm with that. Deutschland. Yeah,
it's
man.
wild. Whole different environment though. It's not. You can't even compare the two in terms of like lifestyle and stuff. It's very different.
Oh, it's a different country.
Yeah.
But yeah, man. No, you know, it's funny. I have not seen any. No, I take that back. I was gonna say I haven't seen any of the DC comic movies. I saw Aquaman.
Okay.
With Mr. Muscles himself, Jason Momoa.
I did not see that one.
Jason Momoa.
I didn't see it, and a lot of people seem to not like it. Did you like it?
It was kind of wacky. It was very comic booky.
This is Jared Leto's Joker. He looks like the Crow.
Yes, he does.
He looks like the Crow.
Brandon Lee.
Yeah.
Dope.
Yeah,
that's a really cool shot.
It's cooler than the other one, the Suicide Squad one. This is more like they took the feedback and all right, that's too silly. Yeah. Then he's got like the insane asylum gear on. Like he's got like the like he's in the insane asylum.
It's wild that we're so powerful as a public community that you can make things like the Snyder Cut happen. If you don't know what the Snyder Cut is, it's
you're not alone.
You're not alone. Yes. The Justice League movie that came out, which is kind of like DC's version of the Avengers, where it's a team of superheroes, was critically panned. Like a lot of people didn't like it in the public.
Most people don't like any DC movies save Batman.
But anyway, I guess Zack Snyder was the original director, and I guess halfway through production on that movie, he had to jet out of there due to some family crisis or something, and it was taken over by old boy, the Marvel guy, Whedon, I think. Josh Whedon took it over and went in a really weird direction, and a lot of people didn't like it. So I guess there was rumblings of there's a Snyder cut. There's a Snyder cut out there. It's like 4 hours long. There's a we want to see the Snyder cut. Hashtag Snyder cut got trending. And then here we are, and a year and a half later, and it's about to hit HBO Max. And I think it's only on HBO Max, right? It's not coming out to theaters. Mm-hmm. But they went back and reshot a lot of the principal photography stuff. They brought back a bunch of actors to come back and do some flesh out the story. And apparently it's very different. Can you imagine if it totally sucked and everybody was just like really hyped up for it and then it was just not that great? I feel like that happens a lot where this hype gets to a boiling point for things and then you can never, ever achieve what, everybody thinks it's going to be. You just can't.
I got to see the original because without even seeing the original, I'm already assuming that the Snyder Cut is going to be the same ending pretty much and not like how much can you really change?
Apparently they've changed a lot.
In between, I think, I think there's a lot of like bad guys and they're saying the nightmare scenes and like what if scenes and stuff like that.
Flashbacks.
Yeah, but it's like, I'm getting the feeling that like in the end, it's going to be the same ending and it's like, okay. I don't know. DC stuff never really clicked with me.
Yeah.
Just Batman and that's it. They never really nailed it the way they should.
Yeah.
The same thing kind of happened with Spider-Man until really with superheroes in general. Those movies were not doing good until Disney took over. Like, X-Men never really landed. Spider-Man never really landed the way they should. Spider-Man has become a meme.
Were pretty popular, but not like these movies are now.
No, when Disney stepped in, they really launched that whole Marvel into a new stratosphere.
Yeah, it's crazy, right?
Like they launched it off the back of Iron Man.
Robert Downey Jr., really.
And I tell people all the time, we talked about it before, I think. It's like Disney, forget what you think about kiddie movies and stuff like that. Disney does not play around when it comes to movies. I remember
they're gobbling everybody up.
Yeah, but they know how to tell an amazing story. Like, think what you want about the content inside of it, but they know how to tell a story, and they know how to make it look amazing.
Martin Scorsese would disagree with you.
Yeah, I think
that's not film.
Different strokes for everybody, right?
Those aren't films.
Well, Disney for sure makes. Pirates of the Caribbean's a film. You might not like it. I get what he's saying. Where he likes more practical filming and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. I get what he's saying. But even when they joke with him about it, he's like, I get why I'm being joked as well. Like, he doesn't take it too serious.
Yeah, right.
He wasn't saying they were terrible. That's not what he said either. He was just like, that's more like, what did he say? He was like, it's more like a theme park.
Mm-hmm. It's like a theme park ride.
It's like, that's not a real meal. That's like dessert. It's nice. That's ice cream and sprinkles. Well, but when I want a real movie,
we used to call those popcorn movies. Those are popcorn movies. I've always heard that term, like the summer popcorn blockbuster movie. It's, it's not going to win you many Academy Awards, you know what I mean? For, it's like...
Well, it's like, let's not forget, and we talk about it when we're doing our videos, like when we first started, we came to a quick realization that 99% of our content is going to end up on social media.
Yeah.
Think what you want about social media, whether you believe in it or not. That's where the content's going. There is no real strategy. We haven't had a single customer that has had a priority for radio or TV. Mm-hmm. It's all been some social media platform.
Yeah.
And online. one thing that we kind of came to a realization is knowing where this stuff is going to go. Every video has to have an entertainment aspect to it. Mm-hmm. Doesn't mean it has to be funny, but it for sure has to capture your attention long enough. It has to entertain your senses somehow, whether it tug at your heartstrings, whether it makes you laugh, whether it makes you angry. We know that has to be at the forefront.
The music makes you feel good. The way the editing is cut makes you feel...
Social media demands that theme park experience. Mm-hmm. Again, whether it's making you cry off the bat, whether it makes you angry off the bat, laugh off the bat, that's the way social media is. We know that because as we consume it, we're only stopping at those things. Where in the first 5 seconds, this is like, wow, that looks fun.
Have you watched The Social Dilemma yet?
No.
Oh, dude, you got to watch this movie so we could talk about it on the podcast. It really hits on this, dude. They had this really cool sequence where it's basically the day in the life of somebody who's scrolling. Mm-hmm. And, it's so funny. You really do. I mean, pull out your phone right now and just go down your feed. Mm-hmm. You're literally microseconds. Mm-hmm. And on each
you
post.
Make that decision.
And you make that quick decision. And it's like, damn,
you're making hundreds of thousands of decisions a day.
It's so hard to capture somebody real quick, man, isn't it?
Yeah, no,
that's what we do though.
A fun social experiment is like look over somebody's shoulder when they're scrolling and see what they slow down on.
I do that to my wife sometimes.
Or what they scroll back up to.
Dude, my wife, yeah, that's funny. Like, wait, what was that?
Yeah,
my wife, I always make fun of her. In love, baby. But she freaking flies, dude. I'm like, are you even reading? Like, can you even see what you just looked at? Like, she's like, yeah, I can see it perfectly. It reminds me of, remember that scene in Toy Story where the pig, they were all around the TV and he had the remote control?
Oh, yeah.
And he's like, and he's just surfing it. He's like, how can you see it? I can see it just fine. Like, that's what it reminds me of. But yeah, to your point, our job is to grab you right away. You know what I mean? And
unless you're doing a podcast.
And then you're just winging it, baby. You're winging it, man.
No, but that goes back to the Scorsese thing. I get what you're saying at the same time, but let us not forget, let us not be so wrapped up in the art that we forget also the purpose of it too. Like, there's a balancing act.
Hey, man, spoiler alert. I mean, I shed a tear when my boy Iron Man at the end of Avengers on the last movie when he... I didn't
shed a tear, but I felt
something, baby.
No, I felt something.
I felt it.
I felt sad.
These movies are they're making me feel.
I felt sad when we talked about it before, when Spider-Man saying, I don't want to go, I don't want to go, I don't want to go.
And he just...
I literally told it, like, out loud, I was like, oh, you guys are messed up. Like, you guys are some jerks.
He was so quiet in the theater.
Like, no, I was like, you guys,
so because
and they knew, like, look at the brilliance of like Disney and the team that directed those movies. Like, they knew which character to do that with. That was the one
kid.
that had the innocence of like, I don't want to go, I don't want to go. It was like,
dude, and then that movie just, and you remember, and then it just ended.
It's a swift kick in the testes.
And then it just credits directed by, and I was like,
it was like Thanos will return. Remember that?
I was like, it's over, dude. Like, dang.
I remember the music was great though. When he was sitting down, like, job well done in his head, like that music, the strings and stuff, and he just sits down, like,
and he's looking over that beautiful countryside.
I love that music. Yeah, actually reminds me of Destiny. There's some music in Destiny that sounds just like that.
Yeah, man.
Thanos, he got what he deserved.
Oh, dude, we just rewatched the Lord of the Rings trilogy on 4K UHD Blu-ray discs, and I forgot how fun those movies were. I really enjoyed them. They're not for everybody. They're freaking long, by the way. It's like I almost forgot how freaking long they were, dude. These are 3.5 hour movies. They're long.
Yeah, it's not for everybody.
No.
I can't think of too many movies that are long that I could like stay awake, even when
Titanic.
I was younger.
4 VHSs, Titanic.
4, I think it was 2 for real. Like, jokes aside, I thought it was 2.
No, it was 4. I'm very sure it was 4. We're gonna fact check.
Somebody fact check the fact checkers, because I don't.
Keep talking,
I thought Titanic was 2. There's a few movies that I remember 2 VHSs, and I thought Titanic was one of them. I remember 2 DVDs for Gangs of New York. Was 2 DVDs that was different. There was 4 discs in Final Fantasy 7. I think.
Oh, you right?
3 or 4.
2. What? 4? Really?
I think there was 4 in Gone with the Wind on VHS.
2 VHS tapes. What is this? Walmart.com? Oh, Walmart.com. Okay.
What?
Okay. All right.
Well, if you remember, think about it. A VHS could hold 2 hours.
Yeah.
And it wasn't a 4-hour movie.
97. Wow.
That's when it came out in 1997.
1997.
Natasha said she didn't like that movie.
Oh, come on.
I like that movie.
Your mother said she didn't like Dumb and Dumber. Hey.
Oh, I didn't. I agree.
I love
That's
Dumb
funny
and Dumber.
when we talk about Cable Guy and stuff
gosh.
like that. Like, that's another one that
Farrelly Brothers, dude. That was a brilliantly written movie. Dumb and Dumber was great. But isn't that funny? I'm teaching my son that. The other day, he was like, you want some olives? I was like, olives? No. And he goes, like, it blew his mind. What? And I was like, yeah, dude, gross. But we're teaching him, to each their own. Everybody. And he goes, Daddy, and he'll remind me, Daddy, people like different things. I go, you're right. You're right. You are right. Yeah, but Dumb and Dumber, come on. Come on. I'm looking right there. Come on.
What you eat don't make me crap. You know what I mean? Like, just, hey, have a blast. Enjoy your olives.
Oh, man. Titanic. What do you think about Titanic? Did you like Titanic?
Yeah.
I thought Titanic was beautiful. Great. It was absolutely beautiful.
There's a few long movies I like. I mentioned Gangs of New York. That's a long movie I liked.
Love Gangs of New York. Oh, my gosh.
The Departed was cool. I saw that recently again.
It's a good one.
That was cool.
Most Scorsese movies are long. He likes them
true.
long.
Yeah, no, he doesn't do short movies now. And it's always the same Italian story.
Yeah,
like the whole mafia vibe, whatever. Funny? Like what you like about it, like.
Oh, there's a great YouTube video. I always give little suggestions for. Speaking of Titanic, But go to YouTube and just say if Michael Bay directed Titanic.
What, lens flares everywhere?
No, explosions.
Oh, explosions.
People were falling off the ship and they were putting explosions when they were hitting the water. Like big fireballs.
I remember watching that
oh man,
much younger. 97, what would it be? Freaking 15 around there, that age or something like that, without doing any serious math here. Around there, 15, a little younger maybe.
No, it was younger. We were younger. I was in 99, freshman year, I was 14. 14 years old, 2000, 99,
so very
2000.
Young. I remember watching the ship
12
snap in half at night, like thinking that should have been horrifying. Like that felt so sad. I'm like, can you imagine?
I will tell you the part that gets me. And I don't know if I could even watch it today because
the old people,
as
the
bro,
building, as
they're in their little
cot,
and their room was flooding up, and they were snuggling, dude.
Flooding.
I can't even talk about it. I can't even talk about it because what's funny is as you get older and you have a wife and children and a family of your own, you start seeing.
It feels like you're in that room and the water's rising.
It feels different, babe. No.
She starts nagging. I walk in the house and she has complaint after complaint. I feel the water rising and I just can't gasp when I'm dumping off the bottom to get some air. Somebody please, and I look in the mirror and I don't look the way I used to, and I see my life withering away, and I wonder, how did I get here?
Oh man, whoa, slow down there, partner. I see it too when I see these terrible news stories. I see an Amber Alert come up on my phone, and it hits me differently because I'm like, man, I always think of my son. I always, as the kids say, it hits different. It hits different now.
That bass hits different.
That bass hits different now. That one, what do they call it when music is really it slaps? They say slaps, or is that already out the freaking door?
I still say it knocks.
It knocks. Yeah. I say this is a great musical selection.
I enjoyed that.
That's what I say.
Musical number.
Oh, this is a fantastic track. That's what I say.
The memes we look at when you walk into your bedroom. Do you go knock knock
knock knock?
You say
you don't even
knock
knock the
knock
knock knock knock knock. Such a white guy thing to do. Hey, what'd you think? Speaking of old white people getting angry at things, what'd you think of the Weeknd's performance at the Super Bowl, the halftime show?
I didn't like it.
I didn't like it really much either. I'll tell you what was funny.
I don't need the super explanation of what he meant and stuff like that either.
No.
Again,
you have my attention. You have like 5 minutes.
Yeah, no,
to grab me. It didn't grab me.
So if he did have a big metaphor and all that stuff, I get it because there was like a grand presentation between the because he did like a series of like 4 videos or whatever, 3 or 4 videos, and there was like one where he was like fine, and then he goes through the next one where he's like beat up and scarred.
I think he got in a car crash.
Yeah,
or something,
and then there was one he had the bandages, and then he did then he did the makeup, and then now he did this. So it was like some grand storytelling about like how Hollywood ruins you, whatever. I get all that. That's cool. Tell your stories, but the bottom line is when you hit that stage, you still got to be entertaining, and I didn't see it. Like
it was funny watching it because I went over to my parents' house to watch the game, and I know my mom watches the show, so this is funny. Mom, I love you. Making fun of you a little bit. She's like, it starts, and she's like, who is this?
And why is he missing an E?
And I was like, it's The Weeknd. She was like, oh. And then she's like, I don't know this song. And I was like, okay. And then she was like, why are they dressed like that? And then, like she was like, it felt like she was uncomfortable watching it. It's like,
I was uncomfortable too.
I didn't think it was that great. I thought it was actually I didn't think it was great at all. And I like The Weeknd's music.
I'm biased though. I'm from an era where we saw Michael Jackson, where we saw Prince on that stage. Mm-hmm. Like it's hard to say you deserve to share that same stage and you do what you did. I don't know.
That money, baby.
It's not for me. It wasn't for me to begin with. I'd argue that.
Apparently, I read something that he had put up like millions of his own money, millions of his own money to make the stage bigger. I'm like, yeah, you whiffed on it, man. You whiffed. Because I feel like the biggest consensus I've seen is not many people liked it.
That wasn't the one.
That ain't no Bruno Mars, bro. That ain't no Bruno Mars.
It's not Bruno Mars.
It ain't Bruno Mars. Even Beyonce killed it the year after Bruno Mars. I thought she did pretty good.
He said even before Beyonce. You're just looking for a wave of internet people to flood your box with hate.
Dude, she comes out on that field, dude. She was like, who run the world, girl? Who run the world, girl? I was like, oh, shit.
I was talking about her the other day. Like, it's interesting for like, Beyonce seems to be like universally loved, like the mom of, and she ain't even that old,
R&B.
And she doesn't really go out there that often. But it's like every time you hear like other celebrities react to meeting her, like that's the sweetest girl on the planet.
Oh, she's so nice.
Like that's cool, I guess. It's like you often hear about how jerks celebrities are, and it's like to see one of the most popular ones on the planet, one of the highest earning ones on the planet, to get the feedback that she's down to earth. That's cool. But yeah, no, but she got like droves of loyal fans.
Yeah, it's like they call
the Beehive.
The Beehive, and then remember she had that beef with Taylor Swift and her crew. There was like the crew.
What do you call the Taylor Swifties?
I don't know. Swifters,
Swifters, the Beliebers,
Swiffers,
and the Swifters.
Swiffer, quicker, picker-uppers.
The Beehive. Rihanna had the Navy.
Is it really? I don't know. I don't know.
They all have their own little thing.
Come on, man.
Nicki Minaj.
Wait,
what is it?
One.
The Barbies. The
we
Barbs.
need one. Damn it. We need a following. What is our cult called? What are our people called? The Wave.
We'll get back to it later.
It's the Wave.
We need to find one.
It's the Wave.
To all of my tsunamis out there.
It's tsunamis. To all of my natural disasters.
To all of my that's dope. This was a natural disaster.
This is a natural. You guys are the natural disasters, man. Yeah. Oh, dude. I speaking of just like cool women R&B hit makers. I was driving Victor to school the other day, and I'm like bumping Ariana Grande. That old the track Problem. You know that song? Starts with that just ridiculous sax intro.
Oh yeah, okay,
bro,
yeah. You got me there.
Come on,
that was like name
Problem,
that tune
right?
in how many bars?
It was was that white
when
Australian rapper girl that raps on that tune, Iggy Azalea. Yeah, that's that track. So anyway, I am absolutely cranking this song, and my son is in the back seat. We're at a red light, dude, and I'm just getting after it. I start laughing because it's just such a great groove, and I'm just cracking up. And I look in the rearview mirror, and Victor is just sitting there, just like this, head on the window, just like. And I turned it down real quick. I was like, "What's wrong with you?" And he was like, "Dad, there are people looking at you." And I was like, "Okay." And I turned it back up, and I'd roll the windows down, and he like slung down. He's getting to that embarrassing. I'm starting to embarrass him, which means I see that, so I go harder. I embarrass further. Oh, that poor kid. That poor kid. We were coming into my court the other day, and I'm parking the car, and I'm bumping some more. It was some some hip hop track, and just it was Kanye West, and we're listening to Kanye West, and I'm cranking it, and he's like, "Dad, you have to turn it down, Daddy, turn it down." I was like, "What are you talking about?" We pull up into the driveway. I open the door, and the car's still on, and it's still just bumping, and he is so embarrassed. I'm like, son, what is the problem? He's like, "Other people are gonna hear us, Dad." And I go, and
they can't tell me nothing.
No, they can't.
That's funny.
Yeah, man. Who runs the world? Girls.
Do they?
Girls. They run the world. Yeah, man.
Interesting theory. Chime in. Do girls run the world?
Do they run the world? There's a debate to be had.
I mean,
for and against.
James,
much like everything.
James Brown said this is a man's world.
Oh, dude. I just rewatched that YouTube interview of James Brown when he was
with that. Papa got a brand new bag.
Yeah. I feel good. And I look good. And I smell good.
Papa's got a brand new bag.
And then he goes, and I make love good. And I was like, oh, to the old white lady. Oh. Yeah. There's another one. You look this up. James Brown crazy interview. Put that in YouTube. Find that one, man. Oh my gosh.
When
so
done with that, look at
funny.
James Brown and Pavarotti.
Oh yes.
They sang This Is a Man's World together.
That's unbelievable. I watched James Brown on the Letterman show on YouTube recently. He did a set on Letterman in the 80s. Because I was looking up, I went down the YouTube rabbit hole, and I showed him to you the other day here. One of my favorite drummers, Steve Jordan. And I was just searching Steve Jordan stuff, and there was an interview with him with GuitarCenter.com or whatever, and he was talking about some of his most memorable performances, and he was talking about James Brown because he was the drummer for David Letterman for a run, and then he was the drummer for SNL as well. But anyway, during his time in Letterman, James Brown came to perform, and he didn't bring his band. He said, "I want to use the Letterman band." Okay, so they rehearsed like all week, and James shows up, and they had like one quick sound check, and after like a minute, James was like, "All right, y'all are good. We're fine. Here we go." So you have to look this up. I can't remember what year it was, but anyway, he was only supposed to do like one track, and then they had a guest. Letterman bumped the guest because the energy was so wild in the studio, and James Brown and the band were killing it. They did another like 2 or 3 more songs, and did like the last quarter of the show was just a James Brown live show, man, and it was so awesome. It's just wild, and my son is sitting there watching this with me, and he's just like, "Who is James Brown?" I said, "This is James Brown," and I showed him. He's doing, he does the splits, comes back up. He just talk about exuding confidence and energy, man. And but anyway, yeah, he learned about James Brown the other day, Victor. I'm just trying to introduce him to a lot of different music.
So what is your experience with? And you talked about performing live and stuff like that.
Yeah.
The first time you play a song with a band, with a group, and let's say that group stays together, right? Mm-hmm. How many times do you think it takes to get that song right?
What do you mean? What do you mean?
Practice. Right? How many times, hours? How many times are you going through this song to get it right, to where the band is like, "We're good, we got this, we're ready to perform it"?
Like a number? Mm-hmm. Oh man, I don't know. Depends on the complexity of the tune.
It ain't once, is it?
Hell no.
Right.
Hell no.
What about if it's a song you've played a million times?
Still got to brush it up a little bit. And here's the thing about performing too, and I did a fair share of performing. You always want to keep even old songs fresh, so you do them a little different. Maybe you do a different intro on this thing, man. Maybe maybe the outro on this tune is a little different. We're gonna try something new, so you're always just trying to keep it fresh.
Because I've seen that talking about performing and stuff like that remind me of like experience I had just running audio for different like venues and different events and stuff like that. And I've seen where groups are on both sides of the spectrum, where they get upset and they say, "Hey, this group got together for the very first time, and like, hey, I got to get out of here in an hour." It's like, "Hey, let's knock this out in an hour," and it's like, guys, it's not realistic. Like, get the song right. No. And on the other hand, I've seen people, the same exact song, the same people take forever and still not be prepared. So I thought it was interesting. We talking about just live performances and stuff like that. It's like
during my time in the last place I was stationed in, Kaneohe Bay, at Marine Forces Pacific Band, we had like a show style band, and I told you about this many times. We had a full rhythm section up there, we had a full horn line, and we were singing and we were doing covers of all kinds of crap, Earth, Wind and Fire, funkadelic stuff, and all kinds of things. But we would rehearse for weeks and weeks and weeks for one show. And we would run it every day for weeks. Like there was one year where the group opened up they did a show every year called Bayfest, Kaneohe Bay Bayfest, and it was a kind of like something in the water, but it was in Hawaii, and they held it on base at Kaneohe Bay, and the whole it was a big deal in Hawaii, and they would have major acts come, and so one year they had the Black Eyed Peas when they were very popular, so they came out, and we performed before the Black Eyed Peas. And man, we would rehearse these songs, this little 8-song set for weeks, every day, in and out, so that you can get so damn comfortable with it that you can go and perform it. Not just play the music, you can go and perform the music. There's a big difference there. You know what I mean? You have to know it like the back of your hand, so that when you get up there in front of thousands of people, you can just have fun. You could just have fun. So, yeah, no, one time, no.
I guess the thing is, too, people have to realize you need to take this stuff home with you as well. If you're only doing it when there's a paycheck involved, or if you're only doing it for the event, then you don't really love it. Yeah. If you don't love it, if you don't have the passion for it, I question whether you should be doing it to begin with.
Well, yeah, my wife and I talk about this, because she coaches cheerleading, and I always tell her there's a lot of parallels, because I did the whole high school marching band thing and the drum corps thing, and there's a lot of parallels there. There's physicality, you got to be in shape. There's musicality there. There's rhythm there. There's synchronization there. You got 20 young performers all jumping up at the same time. You want to look uniform, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah.
And I learned this from a very young age. There's a difference between practice and rehearsal. There's a big difference between practicing and rehearsing. Practicing is what you do by yourself at home, away from everyone else. You practice. You practice, you practice, you practice. So when you come to rehearsal, you are not practicing at rehearsal. You are rehearsing at rehearsal. You see what I'm saying? This is a great lesson for any young aspiring, and not just musicians, anything.
This is very, very.
This is a life thing, dude. This is you woodshed at home. You practice at home. I tried to get her for the last couple of years that don't call it practice anymore. Call it rehearsal. She's like, it's always been called practice. I'm like, I get that, but like the mentality should be different.
Well, when you come to practice, you should be ready. Call it what you want to call it.
Right.
When you're on everybody else's time,
right? In a team thing, yes.
Yeah.
Sure.
Dude, that's just freaking awesome.
Well, it's like it's really great, man. Because for drumline, let's just talk about drumline. It's like you're a unit. You play together. You have to play in unison. You can't be taking that time away for Billy. Billy's not prepared.
Else's time.
He's not prepared.
Everybody else's time.
You count. You're a piece to this puzzle. So in the whole cheerleading world, and she, of course, gets frustrated, just like I used to be back in my day, where it's like, look, if I've got 2 or 3 people that aren't prepared, now we have to waste everyone's time. We got to waste your time so that we can all get to where we need to rehearse. So
it's tough in the performance side of things because there's a lot of feelings involved.
A lot of emotion, sure.
A lot. And rightfully so. We understand that, creative people.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, it's like that's where it's touchy, but it's like it takes a good leader to be like, you're not ready, get out the way.
Yeah.
Because there is a management aspect, there is a decision-making aspect that comes to performing, that comes to these things we're talking about. It's like at some point, if you want to go to the next level and do this at the highest level of professionalism and the highest level of performing and all that and get the best result, then you can't just go walking on eggshells. Hey, you haven't been practicing. You're not at the par. You got to sit this one out. We got to move on without you.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's it. And to some points, like I found myself in the past even getting offended when I was in those types of situations. It's like, well, wait a minute. I've got a lot going on in my life. I came ready to go. Why is XYZ person not ready to go? I take that as an insult. I think XYZ person should be moved out the way because you're disrespecting the time I took to make the sacrifice to do what I have to do to be ready for this moment.
I had 2 moments in my musical career that were very similar and very different at the same time, and I'll explain. When I was in high school, I was in the high school band, okay? I was a drummer in the band, and we had a younger, new band director who was awesome. This dude was awesome. I'll just say it. Jerron Ransom. He's the man. Still talk to him occasionally. Very big influence on me. And I'll tell you what he did that woke me the hell up because I was a cocky little shit back then, drumming-wise. I thought I was just awesome, right? And we were in rehearsal one day, and I got mouthy to him. And this was right. We had been preparing for a long time for this big festival. It was like a district festival where you go, and we all went to like Richmond or something, and all these bands competed to get a grade. You know what I mean? And we had been rehearsing, and I mouthed off to him in the middle of rehearsal. And this dude, without blinking an eye, he says, "Say one more thing." And I said one more thing, and he goes, "Get out." And I was like, "What?" He was like, "You will not be performing at district in front of everybody." I was mortified. But he was so right. He was so right. And I sat my ass in the audience and watched the band play without me. The show will go on. So I in that moment, it was an awful moment for me. Devastating, because music was everything to me. I had nothing else. That's all I did was drum. That was it. So for him to very quickly it was so awesome. Like, look at as an adult now, I'm like, hell yeah, dude, that's I would have done the exact same thing. So fast forward, I go into the Marine Corps, and I'm doing that in the Marine Corps. And I'll never forget this guy. So I loved Jerron. This guy I'm about to tell you, well, I won't name him by name, but I did not like this guy. He didn't really have my respect for many reasons I won't talk about. But he did make a very good point one day. He was just like, and I don't know if he was indirectly talking to me. I felt like he was. But in front of everybody, he said, listen, and before we go today, I'd like everyone to know that not one of you, and he's just looking around, and I'm like looking at him, and he just kind of meets my eye, and he goes, not one of you is so important that this show will not go on. This show will go on with or without you. Not one of you is that important. I can promise you that. And I was just like, damn, it's so true. It's just so true. So, Jerron Ransom, man, you may have known it, but you changed my life that day, dude. You really woke me up to, it's time to be a man. You know what I mean?
That's the tough part about...
it was tough love, dude. It was tough love.
About leading a creative team, and leading a team in general, I think, is that way. Even at work, in every relationship, is a balancing act as well. Like, life is so much about balance. And in that thing, it's like, you have to treat people like the show can't go on without them, but also give them the understanding that it will go on without them.
Right. It is a balancing act.
It's tough. They have to know both things at the same time. That we need you here. This is not going to be the same without you. We need you to come ready. Sure.
That's why we have you in this position.
Yeah, the team, the unit, the organization will be hurt if you don't come at 100 every single time.
Sure.
If you don't, we'll figure it out without you then. It's like it'll give us a speed bump. It'll be a pain in the shortcoming. In the end, we will move on. Life will move on. I felt that way about a lot of jobs where people felt really important. They started getting a lot of responsibilities and attitudes changed. And this place, they can't do half the work that I do. If you knew how much I did it, that's fine. We'll struggle for 2 weeks until we find your replacement. And guess what? The business will continue.
And
You'll look back
wild?
10 years later and still see that same business moved on without you.
Yeah, and I from personal experience, I mean, and I'm sure there's a lot of people that could probably agree with this. Maybe you don't have to do it out loud like we're doing, but there have been times in my life where I've been part of a group, a team, a workforce where I'm like, yo, I'm kind of killing it. They'd really miss me if I was not here.
This thing will fall apart without me.
Maybe not that, but like it wouldn't be the same.
Will shut down without me.
And you know what? Even if you write to a certain extent, it will go on without you.
Well, no,
they have to.
They were fine before you, and they'll be fine.
And they will be fine after you. So
it's not a hard and fast rule.
No.
Generally, this is typically what. More oftentimes than not, man, they were fine before you. They'll be fine without you. But a lot of things that you're gonna do in life is gonna be more for you than for everybody else. It's not gonna be so much for the feedback.
The recognition.
I've learned that, and I think we've come across that as well too. It's like, do you do it for them, or do you do it for yourself? I think that's the goal of just doing it for yourself. Forget what anybody else would think. If they notice the hard work, if they notice the extra mile you went, it's fine. Don't notice it then. Whatever.
You got to live with yourself.
Me, my character, my who I am. If I stop going the extra mile because I didn't get the applause, a little piece of me dies, and only I can control that. I control that. So it's not fair to the next person that the first, if you got 100 people you're going to deal with in your life and the first 99 didn't appreciate it, you're going to cheat the last one out of it. Like, be who you're going to be no matter what. But that's tough. That's the challenge, man. It's like a lot of times it's like, I could go the extra mile. I could. He's never going to appreciate it, though. They're never going to say thank you. They're never going to recommend this to another person. They're never going to tell their friends. It's like,
okay,
you might 100% be right. You might very well be right. But
pick your battles.
Do it for yourself, man. Do it for yourself. Would you feel better about it? Give your 100%. Forget it. Yeah. That's the thing I talked about before. Like, our 100% are not going to be the same.
Sure.
And I think that's a real difficult thing to understand when you're like, I would have never done it that way. It's like,
right.
You would never have done it, and you won't do it that way. But that is the best that person can give.
Hopefully.
Yeah, I mean, we can't. We talked about it before. We don't understand the hearts of men in terms of mankind. We don't understand the hearts of men. No one understands the hearts. Only God. But us to sit here and he could have done better, or that could have been. We don't know that. We don't know. Maybe he could have, maybe he couldn't have. But all you can control is yourself. We control what we can control is what we run into the ground every day. We say that almost on a daily basis. Control what you can control.
Yeah. Awesome, man. This has been fun. I appreciate you, Tony Barrios.
I appreciate you, Matt.
Thanks, buddy.
We say that often.
We do say that. It's funny. I intentionally do it on the show too. But no, we do tell those you love how you feel.
You should.
You really should.
This is the people never get the flowers while they can still smell them.
I know it. All right, buddy.
Don't go crying at my funeral. Don't cry for me when I'm already gone. Is there a jewel of knowledge to drop these good people real quick?
I'll do it. You got one? I didn't prepare one. I'm so unprepared. Here we go. It's got a running list here.
I read a lot.
I love that.
I constantly write down quotes.
Let's hear it. Hit us with one. Choose at random.
Should I do it random?
Choose at random.
Okay.
Here we go.
So Hector Josiah Barrios said the following.
This is your son.
Sometimes my memories move from my heart back to my brain, and that's how I remember the good stuff. But I don't know where the bad memories go.
I'm Matt.
I'm Tony.
This is Tsunami Podcast.
Yes, it is.
That's beautiful, man.
Yeah.
It's great being a dad, isn't it?
Interesting thing.
It's wild, dude. It's wild. Love the mint. I like that color.
Mint chocolate sucks.
I agree.